Africa is a deeply spiritual continent. People seek God, Allah, and the ancestors, not only for salvation, but for survival. When sickness strikes and hospitals fail, many turn to spiritual houses, believing that divine power can succeed where medicine has struggled. But hidden behind prayers, incantations, and deliverance sessions, an invisible market has emerged. A market where suffering is currency. A market where sick bodies become advertisements. A market where hope is traded like a commodity. In Africa, that market has traditionally been the shrine, the mosque, and the church. And now the NGOs and foundations with roots to these sacred places. The sick come there carrying not just diseases of the body, but burdens of the soul. They come with cancer reports, strange illness, unexplained conditions, spiritual fears, and broken hope. They come believing that someone close to God will intervene, believing that a spiritual hand will lift them, believing that faith can do what medicine could not, believing that they could get that money for their treatment. But in many cases, what they find is not a sanctuary. What they find is a market. And in that market, their pain becomes a product. Their suffering becomes a sales pitch. And their sickness becomes a business model. This is the story very few religious leaders want told. This is the story of the business of seeking financial help for the sick by religious leaders. Across parts of West Africa, especially Ghana and Nigeria, reports have emerged of a troubling pattern. Sick people approach religious leaders to leverage their personnel for financial assistance. They become the face of a crowdfunding drive. Their pain is broadcast. Their tears are streamed live. Their stories are turned into donation links. Men and women seeking financial leverage are turned into public projects. They are paraded before congregations, displayed before cameras, posted on social media. Their medical records become testimonies. Their witness becomes marketing, and their tears become fundraising tools. The public is told, this brother needs financial assistance. This sister needs money for a life-saving surgery. This child needs undisclosed amount for a life-threatening ailment. And then the call goes out. Send money. And when the money comes in, many are left with nothing but broken promises. This is the disguised market of spiritual healing and fundraising in Africa. A system where some spiritual leaders turn the pain of desperate people into fundraising opportunities, collecting money in the name of healing while the patients themselves are often left exploited, abandoned, and silenced.
Strength of Africa TV presents.
In the land where incense prayers rise to the sky, the weary still walking with tears in their eyes. A mother lifts her child in trembling faith. A father bows low in silent grave. They come with hope when medicine is gone, trusting the alt to carry them on. But somewhere between prayer and the offering bowl, compassion slowly loses its soul. Tears turn to testimonies for the crowd. when suffering is spoken aloud. Cameras glow where mercy should stand. Hope becomes coins in an unseen hand. Who will guard the altar tonight when mercy is traded in robes of light? Let truth arise and make it known. Healing was never meant to be owned. The house of faith was built to restore, not to profit from the pain of the poor. When mercy is traded in robes of light, let truth arise and make it known. Healing was never meant to be owned.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Depending on where you are at this moment, I'm your host, Adebayo Oladokun, and this is Strength of Africa TV, where truth meets courage, where the past is reawakened and the future of the motherland is reclaimed. Today's episode is titled The Disguised Market of Spiritual Healing in Africa. Let's start with the business hidden in faith. Spiritual healing and philanthropy has existed side by side in Africa for generations. People believe that illnesses can have spiritual roots, and many seek relief through prayer, fasting, rituals, and divine intervention. Sick people who are financially handicapped also seek this relief. Imagine a mother, her child has been sick for months, hospital bills are mounting, doctors have given their best, but the condition remains. Someone says, try a spiritual center, try a prophet, try a healing crusade, try an NGO, try a foundation. She walks in with faith, she walks in with trust. For centuries, religion has been a refuge, a hospital for the soul, a place where the broken come to be made whole. And NGOs and foundations have been financial pillars to those who need financial assistance for their ailments. In Christianity, there's the language of miracles. In Islam, there's the language of divine intervention. In traditional worship, there's the language of spiritual balance and restoration. These places were meant to be sanctuaries, but in some cases, they have become stages. Sick individuals who head of the places as gateways to raise money to treat their ailments are presented before congregations and online followers. Their stories are told with emotional intensity. How long they've suffered, how many hospitals they've visited, and how desperate their situation has become. The story is told with drama. The diagnosis is announced, the need is emphasized, and then the call comes. Help this soul, God will bless you. So is it, support this healing journey. The room response, social media response, bank accounts open, mobile money numbers flash across screens. In that moment, the patient becomes a project. But what was once a sacred service has in some places become a financial enterprise. What appears to be compassion often functions like a well-organized collection system disguised as spiritual assistance. Now, let us look at the sick as fundraising tools. In this disguised market, the sick person becomes the centerpiece of a campaign. Their photos are shared, their conditions are recorded, their stories are broadcast. Sometimes they are displayed repeatedly before different audiences. Their suffering becomes a message designed to move hearts and open wallets. Some spiritual leaders have learned that illness is a powerful story. It creates urgency, it creates emotion, it creates generosity. A healthy person does not attract donations. A dying person does. This is where the line blurs. Instead of focusing on spiritual counsel, prayer, or moral support, the emphasis shifts to fundraising. Posters are designed, videos are edited, testimonies are scripted. Sometimes, these leaders operate under the cover of a spiritual foundation or a non-governmental organization. The name sounds official, the mission statement sounds noble, but transparency is missing. How much was raised? Where did the money go? Was the patient treated? Was there even a verified medical condition? In many cases reported online, the answers are cloudy, and cloudy systems create dark corners. But after the money is collected, many patients report that little or none of the funds actually reach them. Some are left to continue their struggles alone. Others are quietly dismissed when their cases stop attracting attention. In this disguised market, the value of the patient often ends when the donations stop. Let's examine the dumping of the vulnerable. This is where the story turns cold. After the money is traced, some patients report being sidelined. Phone calls go unanswered. Promises fade. Access to the leader becomes limited. The very person who was displayed as a symbol of faith becomes a liability. Why? Why? Because once the funds are collected, the incentive changes. The patient may be sent away. Some are told to wait. Others are blamed for a lack of faith. Some are left with unfinished treatments. Some with unpaid medical bills. Some with worsened conditions. Some return home broken, not just physically, but spiritually. Because when faith fails, the wound is deeper than disease. They do not just lose money, they lose trust. They do not just lose earth, they lose belief. The cruelty of this system is not only that people are exploited, it is that their hope is used against them. It's like being invited to a feast only to discover you were the main menu. Social media has become a witness. Victims have shared screenshots, voice notes, and videos. They speak of exploitation, they speak of humiliation, and yet the cycle continues. This cultural immunity creates a shield, and that shield protects even the guilty. Let's examine staged compassion. Not every scam begins with a lie. Some begin with performance. A performance of kindness, a performance of generosity, a performance of love. Some spiritual leaders understand that trust is profitable, so they invest in appearance. The public sees a generous leader, but they do not see the calculations behind the scenes. Some organizations are built entirely around this model. Spiritual foundations, religious NGOs, healing missions, deliverance outreaches. They present themselves as humanitarian, but operate as fundraising machines. The public thinks they are funding healing, but sometimes they are funding lifestyles. One of the most effective tools in this disguised market is staged philanthropy. Spiritual leaders are sometimes seen publicly donating money or support to sick individuals. Cameras record every moment. Prayers are offered loudly. The crowd watches. The video is shared online. The spiritual leader appears compassionate and generous. But these public moments can serve as advertisements that attract far greater donations from the public. Small gifts on camera can lead to large collections behind the scenes. Some leaders stage acts of generosity. They distribute foods with cameras present. They visit hospitals with large envelopes. They post photos of themselves praying over the sick. It builds trust, it builds a brand, it builds followers. And when the next sick person arrives, the crowd is already primed to give. Philanthropy becomes marketing. The hand that gives is also the hand that collects. This is not to say every charitable is fake. Many religious organizations do genuine work, but when philanthropy is used as a bait, it poisons the well for everyone else. When a sick person is displayed for donations, their privacy is sold. When their story is exaggerated, their identity is distorted. When their pain is marketed, their humanity is reduced. No society can call itself morally strong while its weakest members are turned into revenue streams. Now, a look at stories from victims and why the system continues. For many years, the victims suffered in silence. Shame kept them quiet. Fear kept them quiet. Faith kept them quiet. Some believed speaking out would anger God. Others believed speaking out would bring spiritual attacks. Others feared the followers of powerful leaders. Social media has become a place where many victims share their experiences. Some describe how large sums were raised in their names without transparency. Others recount how they were promised support that never materialized. Some say they were kept in spiritual centers under harsh conditions. Others say they were sent away once their story stopped attracting attention. These testimonies reveal a pattern. Raise funds, gain attention, move on to the next case. Let us ask a hard question. Why does this keep happening? First, poverty. When healthcare is expensive and social support is weak, religious centers become the safety net. When a mother cannot afford surgery, she turns to prayer. When a father cannot explain a disease, he turns to prophecy. When a family cannot pay family bills, they turn to the altar, to the NGOs, to the foundations. And when the altar becomes a market, they do not always see it because desperation distorts vision. Second, deep religious trust. In many African communities, spiritual leaders are seen as moral authorities. Questioning them feels like questioning God. Some spiritual leaders are treated like celebrities. Their photos on billboards, their voices on radios, their faces on television, their clips viral online. Criticizing them becomes social suicide. Followers attack, defend, insult, and threaten. Third, social media. Social media has become the new altar. A single post can reach thousands. Emotional stories travel fast. Donation links travel fast. Miracles are now broadcast in high definition. Suffering is live streamed. Deliverance is uploaded. Tears are shared. With a single video, a spiritual leader can reach thousands. With a single post, donations can cross continents. The sick person becomes a global fundraising campaign. A photo of a dying child can travel from Lagos to London in minutes. A video of a suffering woman can reach New York in hours. A testimony from Accra can reach Toronto in seconds. Compassion has no borders, but neither does deception. Fourth, lack of regulation. Spiritual healing centers often operate without strict oversight. Foundations may not publish audited reports. Funds move in cash or personal accounts. When desperation meets power without accountability, abuse becomes possible. Every system of exploitation survives for one reason. It is tolerated, not always celebrated, not always defended, but tolerated. The business of miracles does not exist in vacuum. It exists because a society consciously or unconsciously makes room for it. And so, the system continues, not because everyone is ignorant, but because too many are afraid. Let's examine the psychology of spiritual control. To understand the system, we must understand power. Spiritual authority is one of the strongest forms of authority in Africa. Stronger than politics, stronger than education, stronger than wealth. When a spiritual leader speaks, many people do not hear a man, they hear God. This belief creates a dangerous power structure. A spiritual leader can say, this patient needs help, and no one questions. A spiritual leader can say, God revealed this case, and people obey. This power is built on trust, but trust without accountability becomes tyranny. Sick people are particularly vulnerable. Illness creates fear. Fear creates dependence. Dependence creates obedience, and obedience creates control. When someone believes their life depends on a spiritual leader, they will tolerate almost anything. Long prayers, harsh conditions, financial demands, public exposure, and humiliation, all in the name of healing. The spiritual leader becomes doctor, prophet, counselor, authority, and savior. And when one person holds all these roles, abuse becomes easy. This is why even the intelligent people can be exploited. Desperation silences logic, pain silences doubt, hope silences suspicion, and in that silence, the business of miracles thrives. Let's distinguish faith from fraud and examine the role of the community. We must be careful here. Faith itself is not the enemy. Prayer is not the problem. Spiritual guidance is not the problem. Community support is not the problem. The problem is exploitation. Real spiritual care does not require public shaming. Real compassion does not demand camera angles. Real healing does not depend on public donation counts. When a system is healthy, there is transparency. There is accountability. There are clear records. There is consent. If money is raised, the patient should know how much. If funds are spent, there should be proof. If an organization claims to be an NGO or a foundation, it should be registered and audited. Sunlight is a powerful cleanser. Communities also have a role to play. Ask questions, verify claims, request documentation, support reputable charities with track records. Emotion is a powerful force, but it will not replace discernment. When you see a fundraising post, ask, is there medical verification? Is there transparency about the funds? Is the patient directly involved in the process? Giving should be an act of love, not a leap into darkness. Social media platforms have become megaphones. A single video of a sick person crying can raise thousands, if not millions, in hours. Platforms can do more to flag unverified medical claims. Journalists can investigate patterns. Content creators can educate their audience. Silence allows abuse to grow. Light forces it to shrink. A society is judged by how it treats its most vulnerable, the sick, the poor, the desperate. If their pain is turned into profit, then we have failed. The altar was meant to be a place of mercy, not a marketplace. The shrine was meant to be a place of intercession, not a transaction center. The mosque was meant to be a place of compassion, not a fundraising stage. The NGOs and foundations were meant to be financial bridges to the sick and not the pipelines of exploitation. There is an urgent need for reform in these marketplaces. And what does reform look like? clear registration of spiritual foundations, mandatory financial reporting for public fundraising, partnerships with licensed medical professionals, safe channels for victims to report abuse. Religious communities can also self-police. Leaders can speak out against exploitation. Umbrella bodies can set ethical standards. And as we end this episode, I want you to hold two truths at once. First, respect sincere faith and the good it has done for millions. Second, refuse to ignore systems that exploit the vulnerable. If a practice feeds on the sick, it is not holy. If a system profits from desperation, it needs to be questioned. Let us protect the weak. Let us demand accountability. Let us separate true spiritual care from spiritual commerce. Spiritual healing should be about mercy. It should be about care. It should be about restoring hope. But when suffering becomes a fundraising tool, spiritual healing becomes a market wearing a religious mask. The disguise must be removed. People must ask questions. Transparency must become normal. And the sick must never again be turned into financial projects. Until that happens, the disguised market of spiritual healing will continue to operate quietly, hiding behind prayers while trading in human pain. I'm your host, Adebayo Oladokun, and this is Strength of Africa TV. If you found value in this conversation, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Endeavor to join our membership and give us super thanks. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Spotify, Apple Podcast, and Rumble. For advert placement, visit us online at Strength of Africa TV. Watch out for the next episode. You don't want to miss it. Until then, tell your own story, because Africa's future is written in African ink. Stay rooted, stay bold, stay African. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next episode. Bye.
In the land where incense prayers rise to the sky, the weary still walking with tears in their eyes. A mother lifts her child in trembling faith. A father bows low in silent rage. They come with hope when medicine is gone, trusting the altar to carry them on. But somewhere between prayer and the offering bowl, compassion slowly loses its soul. Tears turn to testimonies for the crowd, and suffering is spoken aloud. Cameras glow where mercy should stand. Hope becomes coin,